Hey everyone, I'm Justin Spicer from the Legal Aid Society of Columbus, and I'm here with Megan Sullivan, Director of the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic at the Legal Aid Society of Columbus, and Melissa Skilleter, Director of the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic of Southeastern Ohio Legal Services. Today we're going to be talking about how to respond if the IRS contacts you to say they need you to prove that you're eligible for the Earned Income Tax Credit. Feel free to comment below and we will answer whatever questions we can. So Melissa, let's say I got a letter from the IRS about my tax return. They say I need to prove I'm eligible to get the Earned Income Tax Credit. Why is this happening?
People ask this question a lot. The first thing to keep in mind is not to panic. This is pretty common. When people file returns that claim the EITC, the IRS sometimes examines that claim to make sure that the person should get the money that's being sent to them. Understandably, people who get these notices would like to know why their return in particular is getting looked at by the IRS. Some exams are random. It could be that your return was selected by the computer for no reason at all. It could also be that someone else claimed your child, but the IRS will not tell you why your claim was selected or who may have claimed your child. There's no real way to know. So you need to just focus on proving that you should get the credit as opposed to proving that others should not.
Megan, if my EITC claim is examined, what do I need to do?
Well, there are a few things. First, you want to make sure that you're actually eligible. And then if you are, send copies of the documents that the IRS is requesting to the IRS. Whenever possible, you should submit those documents electronically. The IRS notice that they send may have a QR code or give you a website that you can go to that brings you directly to a place on irs.gov where you can upload the documents. Submitting the documents electronically, that way gets them to the IRS more quickly and reliably. It means that it's not going to have to go through the IRS mail system. Keep a copy of what you send. And if the notice doesn't mention digital upload options, or if you can't use those tools for some reason, send the IRS copies of your documents via certified mail so you can prove that the IRS got what you sent.
Melissa, what do I need to prove?
You'll need to read the letter that you received carefully. Sometimes the IRS is asking you to prove that you had the earned income that you reported. If that's the case, you need to submit proof of your earnings to the IRS by following the instructions on the letter, like Megan mentioned. If you're an employee, you can send check stubs or your W-2. I'm sorry, and your W-2. They want both of those. Or if you are self-employed, you should send your profit and loss records or whatever records that you have to show that you actually brought the money in. Usually, the IRS is looking at whether or not you had a qualifying child. A qualifying child is one that meets very particular criteria that make you eligible for the credits. If the issue is whether you had your child is a qualifying child, then you're going to need to show the following things. That you are related to the child that you claimed. The IRS will look at your legal relationship to the client or to the child, that your child meets certain age requirements for the EITC, that your child lived with you for more than half the year, that your income was higher than any other adult who could have claimed the child, that you had earned income, usually in the form of a job or self-employment, and finally, that you were married and not, if you were married and not filing jointly, that you may need to prove that you and your spouse did not live together for the last half of the year. If you want to review the details of these requirements, you can go to irs.gov/EITC or watch our January 27th Facebook video on the EITC called 2023 EITC Awareness Day. You can access that in the video section of our Facebook page.
So Megan, what kind of proof do I need to give the IRS to show my child qualifies for the credit?
There are lots of ways that you can prove that the child lived with you, like the IRS is asking. If you received food stamps, Medicaid, or cash benefits from Job and Family Services for the years you claimed the EITC, you can ask your caseworker for your assistance group and address history document. Your assistance group are the household members receiving benefits under the same case as you with Job and Family Services, and your caseworker should have that document in their system. Ask for a letter from your child's school, daycare, or summer camp, Sunday school, or after school care activities program that confirms your child's address and the parent or other relative that they lived with for the years you claim the EITC. You can also ask for a letter from your child's doctor confirming the address on record for the years you claimed the EITC. If you have patient summaries that include your child's address for doctor's office visits and hospital visits, those can be helpful too, if they're dated during the year that you claimed the credit. Try to get multiple documents that show addresses at various dates throughout the year for at least 6 months of the year. If you just have documents that show your child with you in January, that's not going to be as convincing to the IRS as if it's consistent throughout the year. You should also collect proof of your own address, such as leases, driver's license, pay stubs, bank statements, and mail from benefits programs like SNAP or cash assistance, so that you can show that you were at the same address, not just where your child lived. The IRS has sample letters that you can use with schools, healthcare providers, and childcare providers. Justin, would you mind dropping a link to that page in the comments? That can be
Yeah,
helpful, providing a template to those providers so that they give you the right information to provide to the IRS.
absolutely. I'll do that now. So Melissa, let's say I don't have the information or documents that they're asking for. Can I just send a notarized letter explaining my situation?
The IRS really prefers to have a document from someone who isn't you and who isn't related to you, like a doctor or school official that serves your child. However, sometimes these records just aren't available. It can be really challenging to prove where a baby or toddler lived if they didn't go to a sitter or daycare. As you imagine, babies and toddlers don't have much of a paper record on file. If you don't have any other proof, you can write your own sworn statement and get statements from as many other people who aren't related to you as you can. So some examples are your neighbor who saw the child come and go at your home every day, your child's babysitter who may have come to your home to babysit. Your pastor or church youth group leader, even if your church doesn't have formal records, they could write a letter. Someone who comes to your house routinely or who sees you with your child routinely, who would have specific knowledge of your child living there. For example, if you have a physical therapist who stops by your home frequently and sees you and your child there, they may be a good choice. These statements don't need to use any specific form, but they should include specific language at the end, if at all possible. If possible, use the wording under penalties of perjury. I declare to the best of my knowledge and belief the information contained in this protest and accompanying documents is true, correct, and complete. This indicates that the person signing the statement is swearing to it just like they would in a court of law and understand that lying on the statement could subject them to civil or criminal penalties. That causes the IRS to give them more weight and consider them to be better proof than otherwise.
Megan, what are some problems people run into sometimes when submitting documents to the IRS?
Well, some of the ways that people can get tripped up when trying to get documents to the IRS are they submit documents that don't cover the tax years at issue. For example, a letter from a school that confirms attendance in 2023 when the year the IRS is looking at is 2021. We see schools actually write that letter a lot, confirming current attendance despite what we ask for. So double check that. Or when documents don't show the residence for at least 6 months, like the tax year is 2018, and they submit something from the school that covers the 2018-19 school year. That would only show residence for 3 or 4 months of the year because of when the school year starts in 2018. Or the documents they submit don't actually include address information. For example, the IRS mentions medical records as a type of proof, but most shot records for your children don't include their address, so they wouldn't help you prove your EITC claim.
Melissa, what happens after I send these materials in?
Unfortunately, it's not a quick process. The IRS may take months to review the documents that you submit. At the end of that process, they'll send you a letter. They may send a letter saying that they have not made any changes to your return. That means that you've been successful. They've accepted the return as filed, and they should process your return as you claimed it. Or they could send you a letter requesting more documentation or proposing to deny your claim. If you're denied at first, don't give up. Being denied is very, very common. Many people who appeal their denial can successfully show the IRS that they are actually eligible to get the EITC. You should respond to any letter that you get with documents that the IRS request. Make sure you read that letter carefully. Read each page and see if you have appeal rights. If you do have appeal rights, follow the instructions on how to file that appeal. You can request an appeal I'm sorry, when you request an appeal, include with your request copies of everything that you've submitted so far. This is an especially good time to ask for help from a tax professional. Southeastern Ohio Legal Services can help with these cases. Just call our offices to apply, or you can complete an online web application on our website.
So Megan, what if I don't respond or the IRS doesn't agree?
Well, the IRS will send several notices. So make sure you open your mail and pay attention to those deadlines so you preserve your rights to appeal the IRS's decision. If you don't respond, eventually the IRS will just assess the tax or deny the refund. It's also important to participate in the process because if the IRS doesn't think you had a good faith belief that you are entitled to claim the EITC, they could ban you from claiming it in future years. And this all may seem overwhelming. So as Melissa said, our tax clinics are available to help with these issues.
Great. Thanks, Melissa and Megan, and thanks to everyone for listening. The video of this session and all the others in our Tax Chat series are available on our Facebook page. Join us next week on May 19th when we talk about issues people face when working in the gig economy. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time.